Tell me.
Good probability, they say 70% that we're gonna have a new and better government.
A new government, let's say a new one, yeah. So then another one, at least, you know, like this somehow, isn't it?
More normal.
More normal, yeah. That would not be such a bad thing, wouldn't it?
Not at all.
I'm afraid to hope.
Yeah, okay. Well, His Holiness doesn't say like this. His Holiness says never give up hope.
Mm-hmm.
Just continue in that direction.
So I have more to get there. More work.
Well, you know, again, if we hear it again and again and again, if we tell ourselves again, this whole thing about everything is impermanent, you know, it all depends on my karma, it all depends on many conditions, things can change very quickly also. Then if we keep reminding ourselves, then we're not getting hopeless, because getting hopeless is not much point, is there? Elisheva, how are you?
I'm fine. I just think that I heard His Holiness saying that hope is like compassion.
Yeah. Yeah, well, again, you know, I had 2 workshops with teenagers today about Buddhism. It is so difficult in 45 minutes to explain what Buddhism is all about, because now, as you say, His Holiness says hope is like compassion. On the other hand, they tell you to let go of hopes and fears. So what do they mean? So it always depends on the circumstances, where and how we apply it. So it's all about this. Good. Well, anyway, nice to see you. I didn't see you last week because we did Nunes in Sorens, and because it was Sakadawa, which is a very holy day. And again, His Holiness asked people to recite the Green Tara mantra for the very difficult situation in India, in Nepal. It's still really bad. I mean, I talked to somebody who is living in Nepal, and she said, like, the whole medical system just totally collapsed. It's like, you know, they were not prepared for these kind of things. And as we know, so many people are poor on top of it, like they have a very difficult life anyway, and then on top of that. So maybe at the end, again, you know, we don't have to become religious, and we don't have to do big visualization and all these kind of things, but just with a very good heart and with a very good motivation to recite Green Tara mantra. And then we think, this is my present to the Dalai Lama, and because otherwise, what can I do? Yeah. But again, also it's like, somebody did some crowdfunding for Adriana in Bodh Gaya. Adriana is this lady who has the leprosy project since years, you know. I mean, I've been in India. I arrived in India in 30 years ago, it was in the 90s. She was already there, and she has this leprosy project. But also she takes abandoned dogs. So she has about 100 dogs, or maybe even more. And it's not just, you know, the people come because they're sick, but then also she helps them with hygiene for the babies and for the mothers, and she started a school and all these kinds of things. So Tom Farley, because many people know her also, so Tom Farley started a crowdfunding for Sakadawa, because it is a very, you know, it is a very powerful day. So Elisheva, do you remember? I think it was you who said at one point, quite a way back, you know, or maybe it was Tal. It was Tal Portal who said, well, you know, if I do a mitzvah, I don't want to think about that it gives me a lot of benefit, okay? I think she said like this, I just want to do it because I want, no, it wasn't you. Yeah, it was, I think it was Tal, who is kind of following a course. This is why she's not here. So, and then I said, yeah, but still, you know, it's nice to know that if you do something positive today, that something will also come back. And since we are bodhisattvas, you know, we need positive energy. We need the merit in order to attain enlightenment, and then we can be of benefit to others. So anyway, but because she is, you know, I mean, people come to her who have nothing to eat, and not just one family, but many families. So I think in the space of 3 or 4 days, they raised $60,000, which will make her go a long way in India. So that's really nice, because Sakadava, because the Buddhists do know that if you do something positive that day, then it multiplies by I don't know how much. So again, it's just, it's a way of thinking. It's totally relative. It's not coming from its own side. And but it helps us to do a special effort. And especially if you know Adriana, she's so courageous. She's an Italian lady, and she's been living there alone, in Bodhgaya in Bihar since 40 years or something, and still keeps that leprosy project and tuberculosis, keeps it going. You can see her on the website. It's called Maitri Project. Maitri is called loving kindness. Yeah, Maitri love. Okay. So we start maybe, how about, don't know, with some Tonglen? How about that? Tonglen for ourselves, to give us some hope, Neta, to destroy the non-hope, the non-hope, very solid ball in our heart, something like that. And so we just try. So just again, we start with meditation, because meditation, gosh, it is so, so helpful. But I know if you're not so trained, in difficult times, it's very difficult to sit down and just watch the mind. I know for that you need quite a bit of training, meaning training in times when it's not so difficult. But don't forget, here we sit because we sit in front of the camera, we sit in front of the computer. But also meditation doesn't mean just you have to sit down. You can also do it while walking. You can do it while cooking. You can do it. Yeah, it's just that this posture is very conducive for the mind to become stable and clear. That's all. That's why it is like this. But the Buddha didn't say that, if you don't sit down to meditate. Hello, who was that, Nachum? Hi. So he didn't say that you have to just sit. Yeah, you can also walk, but it's conducive for the mind to become stable and clear. So if you can, sitting on a chair or sitting on the floor, try to make your back straight, but not like a soldier, but more like relaxed. Take a few deep breaths and really connect with the body. Because the moment we're connecting with the body, we're in the present. And, maybe short moment of being grateful that the body is working more or less okay. That we don't have big problems. We can breathe, especially when you put your awareness on your breath, this gratitude that the air is breathable. My lungs are working. My nose is working. I can bring in oxygen into my body. How wonderful. Then much easier to be with the breath when we combine it with this kind of attitude. And so try to relax and just breathe simply and naturally. Let the breath come, go as it wants. Try to let go of the past and the future, thinking, planning, regretting. If there is activity around you, which I can see, that's also fine. Just let them do whatever they want to do. It has nothing to do with you. And then a good thing before we start with Tonglen is like to create some spaciousness, or to touch the spaciousness that our mind has or is. It's natural quality of being spacious. We can try to take visualization, and you think you're becoming like a vase or a vase. The Americans, I think, say vase, like where you put the flowers. And it's quite helpful to do that when you breathe in, you are aware of your body. When you breathe out, you think that all the solidity in your body totally dissolves. Hi, Hila. Totally dissolves. But you do that with every breath. You can do parts of your body. So at the same time, you actually do a body scan. You can start with feet and legs. You breathe in. You notice what's going on there. You really dare, you experience the sensations. As you breathe out, you think you can keep the form, but like the solidity, bones, flesh, blood, marrow, whatever, dissolves. You're very tired, if your body is very heavy, or if you have body pain, it's a very helpful meditation. Doesn't make the pain go away, but it relaxes you and it doesn't make it worse. So then you come up to your buttocks, to your belly, sexual organs, same thing. You keep the form, but with the out breath, the solidity dissolves. Abdomen, stomach. And your chest, same. Breathing in, you experience what's happening, what is there. Breathing out, you become empty, basically, like an empty tent or an empty balloon, but you keep your form. Then your shoulders, your arms, and your hands. Again, if it doesn't work so well, don't worry. We're just trying, we're just training. But if we would look at our body on the, on the level of atoms and neurons and all these kind of things, there would be so much space in that body. We're just not aware of it. So we're thinking we're doing something strange, but actually we are coming closer to reality. We've all heard about atoms and neurons and quarks and finally quantum physics. So I do shoulders, arms, hands. And then you come back up to your head. So there are also brain, eyes, other organs in there, the tongue, the bones. What else we have? It just dissolves with your out breath. And with your in breath, you know what's going on. You see whether there's still something remaining. Maybe what you can also visualize, it's ice, our body's made out of ice and the sun shines on it and it just melts. So now we think about the space around us. Also, we think around us is also vast space. Sometimes you think it's quite crowded, but if we look, compared to the space, what is obstructive, what is matter, is quite little. But then again, you dissolve with the out breath everything that is matter. But you keep that subtle boundary between you and the outer space. So in you, vast space. Outside, vast space. So like this, we can open up to our basic spaciousness and clarity. When the minds wander, when the thoughts come, just see them like clouds in the empty sky. Don't hang on to them. Let them pass. We don't really know where they're coming from. We don't know where they're going to. Not important at the moment. So with Tonglen, it's always good to just start kind of, not even thinking about something specific, just to do it in a general way, but also to work with texture. Since we are taking everything that we don't really want, so the texture, you can think you're breathing in feelings of heat, darkness, heaviness, fear, anxiety. And it just dissolves in that vastness that we just created, in that spaciousness. We don't have to go destroy any egos. I mean, if you are used to do that, then that's fine. But otherwise, just think, it just dissolves, like clouds dissolve, because it doesn't exist from its own side also. But then this clarity and spaciousness of our mind, it works like a filter. And when we breathe out everything that we find beneficial, like coolness, brightness, health, fresh, free, peaceful, whatever. You can use whatever words you want to give to that light that you're breathing out. So basically you're taking in dark, you're breathing out light. The darkness doesn't stick anywhere because there's all that space. It transforms. So kind of, it's about transformation. So we're taking the heavy, difficult stuff, that's what we're doing in this chapter, to create something beautiful. Without the heavy stuff, we cannot create anything beautiful. So breathing completely, taking in negative energy to all the pores of your body. It doesn't become so threatening if you're not breathing it into your nose. Try it out, maybe that works better. You can either think you're breathing into your nose, or you think that, it just comes in through the pores of your body, because it's all this kind of subtle energy that is still our body. It's nothing that is, obstructive. And when you breathe out, you think you radiate positive energy completely to all the pores of your body. And we do this for a little while until it's synchronized with our breathing in and breathing out. Basically, breathing in all the heavy stuff gets transformed, dissolves into bright, light, healing, cool, fresh, and that we breathe out through the body. So if you think like this, you have the whole awareness of your body, but it's space. It's not heavy. And it doesn't become so threatening than when you breathe it in through your nostrils. Just try it out. Because whenever we have a kind of full body awareness, the problems have much more space. This is so beneficial to kind of think that you're breathing with your whole body. Then focus on a painful situation that is real to you. Whatever pain you're feeling at the moment or that you think you will feel in the future. And then again, so it doesn't become so threatening and so personal, you think, I'm not the only one. So many beings experience exactly the same thing at the moment. So we're doing this for us, but we're doing it for all other beings who feel the same. Like, for instance, if you're feeling inadequate, you breathe that in and, form again, let your mind find its own way. So if I say, breathe in being inadequate, like not good enough, how does that look? What will be the texture of not being good enough or inadequate? As you breathe out, you breathe out confidence, courage, space, adequacy, or relief in any form you wish. But it can be anything else, anything else that seems to bother you at the moment. Like Netta was saying, hopelessness, I don't dare to hope. Also, the texture of hopelessness, how does it look? How does it feel? If you give it the texture. When hopelessness is gone, what would you breathe out? What would you give to yourself? And to all others who are feeling the same way. As you breathe out relief, support, anything that is beneficial. And you give it to your future self and to all other beings who are feeling the same. When you breathe in, take it upon yourself to transform it for your future self, for all other beings who feel the same. When you breathe out, you give everything that is needed. And you try to give it some texture. And the next step, we make the taking in and sending out bigger. If, for example, you do this for somebody that you really love, it's okay to do that just for that person. But then again, you think about all the others who are in the same situation. Or as we just said, you know, the people in Nepal, the people in India, people in Africa. So many countries where there's still so much suffering from this COVID. Maybe you saw it on TV, maybe you see somebody in the street. But not just to focus on one person, but to really think so many beings. And make it bigger than just one person. You can be specific, but you don't have to be specific. And we can even do it for people that we label my enemy or my enemies. Again, if it's too difficult, don't do it. But still, you know, when you look, those who hurt you or hurt others, they're having the same confusion and stuckness as we have and as our friends have. All of us, we don't know about law of cause and effect. That's why we're not careful. I mean, we know intellectually, so we're at least a little bit careful, but still, you know, it's not a realization yet. And we definitely don't know about emptiness. All of us are confused and stuck and have wrong views, which then creates a lot of pain and a lot of suffering. So by breathing in, you think you are breathing this in for yourself, for your friend, for people you dislike. As you breathe out wisdom, knowing directly, unmistakably, however that might look, whatever texture that has. And you send support and relief. We can extend Tonglen infinitely. And as we practice, our compassion naturally expands over time. And all of a sudden, we start to understand, or we get a glimpse or a hint that things are not as solid as we think. And we start to touch emptiness, not just intellectually, but through experience. As with a lot of awareness, we keep that spaciousness inside the body, the spaciousness outside the body. Things are not so solid anymore. And if we continue with this practice more and more, we're really able to be there for others, even in situations that seem impossible and we before want to run away. We have the courage to stay, even if we can't help properly, because we have this wonderful tool of Tonglen. So maybe since we are in meditation, we can already now do the Tara mantras. If you want, and if you feel like it, either Tara rises in the space in front of you, she's green in color. is the manifestation of a Buddha's enlightened activity, or if you have initiation, you can, in that spaciousness, you arise as Green Tara. And from your pores now is nothing breathing in, it's just breathing out, like from the pores spontaneously, like a very strong light bulb, or like the sun, like the rays are going out, which bring relief, support, healing, and everything that is needed. And we can, if you want, if you feel that, oh no, I don't want to do this, that's fine. Then just continue to do Tonglen. But otherwise we think, wow, as a Buddha, as Mother Tara, I can guide all these beings to full awakening. And then the suffering is finished. And especially when you send out the light, it's, don't have to be specific again, just relief, support, courage, patience, all these kind of things. Nom tare tu re so. Om 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 tare tu re so. And we can continue to recite silently. I just finished the mala, it doesn't take very long. But then we really feel that we have done something. Om tare tu re so. 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 Tare tu re so. Tare tu re so. Om tare tu re so. Then again, become aware of your body, where you are, what you're doing, and just briefly check the motivation for participating in this discussion group on patience, to be really sure that this is what I want. I want to develop patience, and for that I need difficult people and difficult situations, because otherwise that's not possible. But I really want to develop patience. So I have to be quite clear on this. Do we want to feed our pleasures, or do we want to nourish and feed our values and our potentials? Then again, we know that a person who is patient, it's much easier. Difficult situations are much easier for them. And we can also influence others, and we can inspire others, and we create less havoc. So then we think, I'm not just because for me, then my life will be easier, but also because I'm sick and tired of hurting others with my impatience and creating karma for the future. Because my values are, or my potential is, I really want to be of benefit to others, and to all others, not just the ones who are kind to me. Okay. Thank you. I tell you, you can really impress people with your patience somehow, I think, because about 2 weeks ago, maybe, I spent the whole night in emergency in the hospital here, because all of a sudden I saw rainbows and like a kaleidoscope here, you know, out here. And we were in a puja and I couldn't read the letters anymore. So I was kind of going, oi, 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 what's happening? So I went
it's like aura of migraine.
Exactly, that's what it is, but I didn't know, you see. So I went to emergency because it can also be a blood clot in the brain, and it can also be the retina who is kind of coming off. And if you don't go quickly, then they can't laser it back. So they had a lot to do, but they were very kind, and they took this very, very seriously. So I just waited. I think I arrived maybe at I remember maybe at 6 o'clock, 5:30, and I came home at like 4:30 in the morning or something like this. But when I left, because the nurse gave me a bottle of water and she had written on it, I got first prize for being the most patient patient that night. So I thought, like, wow, this is really nice, you know. So yeah, Nahum, exactly, that's what it was, but I didn't know. Next time I know. It's the first time I had this. So, and the funny thing is, you know, in my whole life, I never heard about this. Now that I've had it, so many people say, oh, this is what it is. But before, I had no clue. But I was not afraid. I was not nervous. I just thought, oh, I better go and check this. So that's what I did. So I wasn't disappointed when I came home and it was nothing. It was just a migraine ophthalic, they call it. So it's like that. So in case you have it, but still, I would say go and check it out, because it could be a blood, you know, could be a vessel that is stuck, or the retina that gets off. My dear Tom, oh yeah, you did. So thank you very much. So we continue. We were at verse 104. I think we finished last time, didn't we? Yeah, and the homework was that whoever is bothering me is not a hindrance to my patience, but actually is the cause for my patience. It continues in that. It continues in that way. Did anybody try this out? When somebody got on your nerves, then we start to feel tight and we get impatient, and then the thought, yeah, but hey, hello, wait a minute. Maybe it's not a hindrance for my being the way I want to be. You see, when I say, oh, it's not a hindrance for my patience, it doesn't work so well. But I know how I want to be. I know the values I want to be able to live. So, and I know I can't live them yet, totally, yeah. So then when I think, but this is what I want, so I need to train, and in order to train, I need somebody, then sometimes I loosen up when I remind myself what I actually want. Did anybody maybe have had an occasion to use this?
Yeah.
Or you had not?
Yeah. Yeah, but I use it, it helps me a lot. But the problem is, if I have enough time to do it, because then I have to be to give it time to let the person speak, and then there are still things I have to do with the patient. Suppose I'm in the clinic, but if I only have 5 or 10 minutes, it's too short, and then there's overpressure of time. Yeah. And it's sometimes just impossible. Yeah. And I'm saying to myself, it's impossible. So usually I manage, but sometimes I lose it because it's too much stress with not enough time, and I lose it. Yeah. And it's hard. And it's hard. And as you say, you know, it seems this is it. We are all, most of the time, most of you, me not so. It's samsara. Yeah, no, it's conditions. Me not so much. I'm not so short of time. Me.
I have a lot of time. Yeah, because also I'm old, so, you know. So then, but it seems like when we are short of time, if you come out of the house, you go into traffic and you are already short on time, it seems that exactly then, you know, there's this old woman with her ding, 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 crossing the road. And then there is the garbage truck who is in the way, or some kids are in the way, or this and that. Have you ever noticed that when we are already short on time, it seems as if the problems kind of increase? It's quite amazing, actually. Yeah, and then maybe your key kind of, you know, you put the key in the car. No, you don't put keys in the car anymore these days, because you just go ping, ping, but maybe this ping, ping is not working and that is not working. And then, so it's not a matter of, you don't need that much time, Nahum. It's just a matter of noticing that we're getting tense and then opening up. For that, you don't need much. And it's training. Yeah, and then it becomes a habit. You know, I had a workshop today. It's really, and then you start to, with training, you start to see very quickly what's going on. So, and also prejudices and all this. So I had the workshop with teenagers this afternoon. And one of the boys, they're maybe 16 years older, he had painted fingernails, you know, and people my generation, boys who paint their fingernails is like strange. And I felt myself, you know, I saw it and I felt my reaction to it. It was so quick. But because I saw it, I could then open up. Do you see what I mean? So this is what the training does, that you don't need that much time anymore. But until you're there, and I don't want to say that it works all the time, but I was really surprised today. I was talking, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I don't need a lot of time for the first and second patient. But when it's the fourth and fifth one, and they are all together in 1 hour,
yeah,
and they are hard, then I'm only in my stage. I lose it, but I know that I can't. I'm trying to make it to have more time for each person, but it's not completely up to me. But I do what I can.
Yeah. But the main thing is that you're not getting upset about this. This is the main thing. This is what patience is all about, that you are not getting tense, that you cannot give more time to that person.
Even when I lose it, most of the time I see that and I shut my mouth.
Yeah, that's a very good thing. So we're not creating more habits.
Yeah.
And then, you know, then instead of feeling maybe bad that you didn't say anything, then we feel happy. Say, wow, great. This is the success. I didn't say anything.
Yeah, this is the success. No,
because also, you know, I'm not happy about my reaction to that, seeing those painted fingernails. I'm absolutely not happy about this. I should not have such a reaction. This is his you know, not his problem. Whether he wants to paint his fingernails, I mean, how do I care? It's none of my business. But because of culture and education, and I'm old and all this, and, you know, and I have nothing against gay people. I have so many gay friends, lesbians and homosexuals. And he's like, but still, there's sometimes these traces are remaining that you can be surprised when you see them. But I was happy that I saw it. This is it. You know, for me, just seeing it is good enough. And by seeing it and being able to dissolve it, then in future, maybe next life, I don't know, anybody can paint their fingernails and I'm not reacting to it anymore. I know it's a small thing, but it is so important in your practice. It's noticing. Yeah. Okay.
Anila, I want to share that.
Please do.
I was looking how fast I'm labeling. Yeah. And maybe I think that I recognize things clearly, maybe, and then I label. And I got an experience of one woman that, never mind who she is, but I labeled her for many years. She's a mom of a friend. And I find out something very different in her personality, very good, very soft. And then I was promising to myself, I'm not labeling, no labeling, like this.
Yeah.
And then I was meeting my niece was getting married, and we met her family, and a very nice family, but her father was a little bit this ego, like a professor in the university, and I saw the reaction. Neta, it's your ego reacting to his.
Yeah, right.
And I was watching this, and
Yes,
a week later in the wedding, I saw him with his grandchildren, and he was so nice with them. He was all the time on his shoulders and dancing with them. Here is a soft side.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was interesting.
Yeah, so if you're not, if we are not judging, then we can see their good sides also. If we're judging our judgment, then there's no way. We only see the negative side. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else would like to share something? See, this is what Netta is saying. It's like, it's all about noticing how quickly we judge. And then we're stuck. This is it. Yeah, this is it. And by noticing, slowly, we can dissolve it. And it's not about changing other people, by the way. It is just that we are not under their control anymore, because in a way, we are under their control. That they have the power to upset us. They have the power to spoil my good mood by being the way they are, Okay? Okay, so we go to the next verses. If you want to say something, just open up your microphone. Because sometimes, if you raise your hand, then I can't see it. So just open up your microphone and say. So it continues kind of in the same direction, but I tell you, it gets worse and worse and worse. So, like how we are dependent on the enemy and all these kinds of things. So it's just different arguments for us to help us to practice patience. Practice meaning not to be patient, but to train in patience. Don't forget, we are in training, okay? In order to train, we need objects that we can train on. Like when you become a hairdresser, also you need, before they let you loose on your customers, then you need people who don't pay. So you can train. So this is what we are, yeah? So shall I make it bigger maybe? So we're 105. Ooh, that's so big. A beggar is not an obstacle to generosity. When I am giving something away, and I cannot say that those who give ordination are an obstacle to becoming ordained. Yeah. So we have values. We want to be decent people. We want to be nice. And then when somebody comes who is so-called impossible person, we become not nice. We become grumpy and this and that. And then we say they are an obstacle for me to be kind, isn't it? I mean, we don't say it, but we mean it. And this happens especially in Dharma groups. That people, there's always difficult people. What you do is, as Nachum says, it's samsara. But some people, they leave groups because they say, oh no, these people there, they're so difficult, I can't stand them. And then they think that this person becomes an obstacle for their Dharma practice. And we are convinced that this is so. So he says that this is like saying, we want to practice patience, but we don't want people who upset us, because then we think we are patient if nobody is there who upsets us. If they upset us all the time, then they show us the mirror that we're not patient. So, but it's like saying, if I want to practice generosity, how can I say that the beggar is an obstacle for my practicing generosity? If I want to practice generosity, I need people who need something. Otherwise, how can I? And the other part of the verse is, if you want to become a monk or a nun, you need somebody to give you ordination. You cannot just say, oh, I want to be a monk or a nun and put on robes. That has to be an oral transmission. So you need somebody who becomes your abbot and gives you the ordination. So you can't say the abbot is an obstacle to my ordination. Without the abbot, you cannot become a monk or a nun. Without beggars, how can we practice generosity? That is clear, isn't it? We wouldn't kind of go and say, oh, I really want to train generosity, but oh, there's so many beggars. that I don't know whom to give. So these beggars, too many beggars are an obstacle for my practicing generosity. This is another thing, you know, practicing generosity with beggars. We can now go into a huge discussion whether this is beneficial or not to give them money. I always think yes, because you make a nice connection with them if you give with a lot of respect and you give with gratitude that they allow you to practice patience. And if you start with beggars, then being grateful to your enemy who makes you practice patience becomes much easier. Yeah, because it's much easier to practice generosity than to practice patience. Practicing patience is much more difficult. Yeah, it hurts much more. But I used to, in Dharamsala, instead of giving them every day just 1 rupee, I used to give them maybe once a week or maybe once every 2 weeks. I used to give them 10 rupees, you know, instead of, it would, for me, it's the same amount. So I would, but for them, it's not. And they totally prefer to get 10 rupees once a week than 1 rupee every day, because it's different somehow. It's not, but it seems different. So I would keep all the 10 rupee notes, and then I would decide, okay, today I go down, and then I try to find them, and I distribute it to them. So one day they were not there, and I was so disappointed. You know, I was so disappointed because I couldn't find them. And then finally I found one and then said, well, where are they? And they said, well, they're all getting medicine. Most of them are leprosy people. So they said, well, they're all getting medicine. So I gave him, because they all know each other. And I gave him the whole bunch of 10 rupee notes and told him to distribute it. And the other beggars then the other day, they told me, oh, thank you very much, we got the money. So it's nice, you know. So also, you know, we can feel very noble and distribute the money, but sometimes it's also good to give to one of the beggars and to ask him to distribute it. Of course, you need to trust him. I mean, no, I mean, it's, if you want to give, you give, and then you give up control. But again, you know, then the ego comes and says, oh, is it beneficial? He will steal all by himself. But it's actually quite amazing if you do that, because I also did it once here in Switzerland when we had a big puja and we had so much stuff. And I said, you know, like chocolates, cookies, this and that, and we have too much already anyway. So I said, why don't we go and distribute it to the junkies, to the drug addicts, because there's a place here in Bern where they get their shot of methadone. So you don't have to go find them. You only have to go to that place. But nobody wanted to come with me. So then first I was quite brave and I said, oh, okay, I go. So when I arrived, they had just gotten their shot and they were all a bit like, So I was kind of wondering, oh, what shall I do? I was shy because I didn't know any of them. And so I saw one and I said, excuse me, you know, we have all this stuff. Can I give you some of it? Or can I give it to you? And so he went like, oh, what is it? It was a bit like this. And then I opened the bag, but it's, you know, for the puja, it's all quality stuff. And he totally changed personality. It because it was Easter. So it was also Easter bunnies and things like this. And he became like a little boy. And he said like, wow, can I have this? And I said, yeah. And I said, you can distribute it if you want. And I gave him the whole bag. And he went with one thing after the other, you know, he went like, who wants this? Who wants that? Who wants that? So it's quite a nice thing to do so that they can practice generosity also. You don't have to be the one who feels so noble. Yeah. So this argument, I think we understand. Yeah, that we like to practice generosity. You feel good if you practice generosity voluntarily. If you decide this beggar here is the cause for me being able to, or whoever, it doesn't have to be a beggar, somebody else who needs your service or your time or whatever, and you know, you do this practicing generosity, then you wouldn't call them an obstacle to it, isn't it? Do we agree on this? Yeah. Huh? Then, there are indeed many beggars in this world, but scarce are those who inflict harm. For if I have not injured others, few beings will cause me harm. Do we agree with this? That it says like there's.
Back to the screen.
Huh?
Can you bring it back to the screen? I didn't get a chance
Yeah,
to read.
of course. So it says, you know, there are indeed many beggars in this world. This is why I also said it's much easier to practice generosity. Like you have the choice today to say, okay, this morning I'm going out to town, and you choose, I want to practice patience or I want to practice generosity. Which one you think is easier to practice? You know, if you go to town and you don't behave in a strange way, how will you be able to practice patience? Or maybe in Israel, I'm not sure, with other people. But definitely here in Bern, there's no way you can practice patience unless you get upset about how somebody is stressed or this and that. But you know, also this is India, so you will always find beggars, so it's easier. Yeah, this is what he says. He says there's many beggars in this world, but scarce are those who inflict harm. It's more difficult to find objects that you can practice patience with. For if I have not injured others, few beings will cause me harm. So he's not talking about people that we get upset about their behavior. He's talking about people who harm me. It's much easier, it's much more difficult to find somebody that harms you personally than somebody that you can help with being generous. Do you understand his argument?
I do not.
Huh? Yeah, don't be afraid to help.
It.
Don't be afraid to help. Nothing will happen to you, and you can help.
It's easier. No, it's much easier. You know, you will always find somebody that you can help when you go to town, even if it's just holding a door or lifting a bag, or you know, or somebody, you know, go to Allenby. I'm sure you find somebody that you can practice generosity with. I'm not sure where you live, Netta. Maybe the village is too small and people are too well off there. So yeah. So, but if you go, you know, if you go around Chuka Carmel or somewhere like this, you can always find people. But to find somebody that harms you, that you can practice patience, is much more difficult. That's the argument. So that the people that we can practice patience with, they're very rare.
To find someone that go on my nerves is very easy.
Yeah, but it's not about somebody that harms you.
That's something else.
This is what he says, you know, so yeah, but the ones who get on your nerves, I mean, this is easy, as you say, but that's your problem. Yeah, but scarce are those who inflict harm. For if I have not injured others, few beings will cause me harm. Okay, so that is actually the dilemma of a bodhisattva, like a bodhisattva who really practices. Because they're not creating negative karma, so there's fewer and fewer and fewer harms to come. So when they find one, that's the next verse, then they see them like a treasure. Because otherwise, how can they practice patience? So it's this nice story, I think I already told it, about Atisha, that he had this cook with him who was very rude and he couldn't cook and this and that. And people were saying, like, why are you traveling with this cook? You're such a revered and respected person. Why do you drag him with you? And he said, well, with whom shall I practice patience? And then this is not, I mean, it's a bit cruel. It's a bit cruel what I'm saying, but it's the Tibetans themselves who say it. Because then Atisha went to Tibet, and then the Tibetans say, then he had the Tibetans, so he could let go of his cook from Bengal. So anyway, so that's the Tibetans themselves who say that. So do you understand this? Yeah. Because whether we want, you know, whether we want to admit it or not, patience is one of the 6 perfections. You cannot say, okay, I'll do the other 5 and I'll attain enlightenment.
Anila?
Yeah?
Maybe I missed it because I missed the first part, but can we practice patience only with someone who harms us? Only? That's the only...
No, you remember the 3 kinds of patience?
Yeah, so even if I'm a bodhisattva, I'm not, but and nobody harms me. Still I have opportunities.
I mean,
practice patience because all beings are still suffering, so I have to be patient because the process is very long of liberating everyone.
Yeah, but that is not practicing patience. Here he really talks about the third kind of patient when somebody harms you. You know, it's like practicing patience with difficult situations that you can do. Practicing patience with the Dharma, that it works very slowly, as you say, it goes very long. And then the most difficult one is really being tolerant with somebody who harms you. That's the most difficult one.
So we need people for the third one.
It looks like that. It looks like we have to practice all three kinds of patience, not just two of them.
But all the time, or there's some point where we don't need to, because we practice that enough?
I think, you know, I mean, when you have the perfection of patience, nobody will be able to harm you anyway, because you will generate compassion for them.
I see.
Yeah. So then it looks like harm, but it's not really harm. I mean, when you listen to the Dalai Lama, you know, when he says, well, yeah, I mean, I have these strange friends who are called the Chinese army and the Chinese government, but it's thanks to them that I met all these other people. Otherwise, we would still be sitting in Tibet, not letting anybody in. So that's what I would say, tolerance. When somebody who is being chased away, who had to flee his country, and like so many people died, like about 1 million Tibetans died, and they're still suffering, they're still not free. And he talks like this to about the people who caused it. That is then, you could almost say the kind of the perfection of patience, isn't it? And that's what we want to do. So I'm not capable of doing that. You know, I can transform it once. Afterward, I get angry, or I feel hurt, I get upset. And then when the situation is over, I can maybe transform it, maybe. But still, there's always something remaining when that person comes, or when I see the person. But I have very, very few people who harm me, I have to say. You know, I have very few people who dislike me. This at the moment, I don't know if there's anybody. But I can also feel when I start to dislike somebody, when somebody again comes into my field of action here that I dislike, then they seem to increase also somehow, you know. Then also dislike comes from the other side. So it's only really, you know, when we talk about tolerance, I don't know if you heard when I said this boy who had painted fingernails, you know, when I say like, oh, I'm tolerant about the people who are the teenage boys who paint their fingernails. That's not being tolerant. It's their right to paint their fingernails, you know, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody. So that's not being tolerant. Or when we say we're tolerant with other belief systems or other religions, excuse me, we have freedom of religion. So what am I going to be proud of? But tolerance is really...
It is tolerance toward yourself, toward your automatic thoughts, that you accept that I still have it. It's a tolerance. I'm not angry with myself that I still have it.
Yeah, okay. That also. But, you know, it's so easy to be tolerant with myself. When I do some mistakes and this and that, I'm not lingering on it for days and days and days. When somebody hurts me, oof, that comes back again and again and again and again. I'm very tolerant with myself. I don't have to worry about this one. We had a good example also, because one of the teenagers, I could see she had fallen, and she had like, you know, there was no skin on the knees. There was an injury on the knees. So we discussed that. I said, well, did you fall yourself? And she said, yes. So I said, how do you feel about it? She said, yeah, well, I thought, you know, I wasn't happy, and I just thought shit when I kind of felt. I said, how would you have felt if somebody would have pushed you? You know, this is people, you know, it's teenagers. They never heard about Buddhism. They never heard about these things. They never thought about, hey, the knee has the same pain, but my reaction to it would be totally different. Like the mental reaction, like, you know, this whole thing about shooting the second arrow. Yeah. So the knee hurts because she fell down. But then we discussed this, how we react differently when somebody's pushing me. although the injury is exactly the same. And of course they say, but it's normal to react, to be angry when somebody pushes me. Now the question is it really that normal? It seems normal. This is what we have learned. But is it really normal? Now for a Bodhisattva, it is not normal. Yeah.
Anila.
So, yeah.
This is a really, 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 really hard stuff.
Okay.
Because I'm thinking about some woman, I talked about her 6 months ago, I think, mom of one of the children here, which I tried to be very, very kind to her and talk with her to solve problems. And but still, she was like turning on me, not only on me, and I felt that I tried, I did only good. I'm a fairy, I'm an angel, and poor me.
Yeah.
How come she's evil towards me? This self-pity was so strong. I'm sorry. It was like penetrating the thoughts, and it's a real obstacle.
No, it's not. There you go. She says it's an obstacle. It's not. Your self-pity is the obstacle, not the woman.
Yes. No, the self-pity. The expectation that if I do good, I want to receive good.
Exactly.
This is so strong.
This is also now with the kids today, because we talked about we get angry when our needs are not getting fulfilled, right? So I said, what are your needs? And so the first one that came, she said, fairness, being fair. So I said, okay, well, what do you think is fair? So I said, usually we think when I am kind, then the other one also has to be kind, isn't it? That is fair. When I make an effort to be kind, then the other one also has to be kind. I said, but that's business. That's not, that's not really wanting to be kind. Do you see what I mean? But as you say, Netta, these habits are so strong. We are so convinced that if I do good, it has to come back immediately. And we forget. This woman allows me, now we need intellect, not when you're in the situation, but afterwards. This woman allows me to get double karma bonus because it's so difficult to be kind to her. Now, it's not, she is not bringing the fruit. So it's like when I put a seed in the ground, I'm not expecting that the fruit is there next day. If I'm expecting that the fruit is there next day, I will never plant any seeds anymore because nobody taught me it takes time. You see, if I see things in the garden of somebody and they say, oh, what did you do? And then the person says, oh, I planted seeds. And I go and plant my seeds and nothing comes. I said, what a liar. I planted my seeds and nothing came. Now the Buddha is telling us karma ripens very slowly. So when that woman is not kind to you, this is your past karma ripening not to receive kindness. But what you're creating is maybe the karma to receive kindness like this woman, even though she doesn't deserve it, seemingly. Do you see what I mean? Why are you kind to this woman? Because she has the karma to receive kindness. Means she has been kind at one point. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to be kind to her. She wouldn't be the receptor of kindness. What she is creating when she is not being kind to you is what you are getting now, trying to be kind and nothing coming back. So she is, because you get double karma bonus. This is just a bit of a joke, okay? So anyway, if somebody's watching this on YouTube or whatever, and they don't know me, and if they're Buddhist, they go like, what on earth is she talking about? So just think like this, And the same way as when we put the seed in the ground, we have the patience to wait. And we know, I put the seed in the ground, the sun is shining, I'm watering the seed, even though nothing is appearing yet, something will come at one point. we have that confidence because the Buddha is telling us the law of cause and effect. And then you will see that person as the next verse. Therefore, oh, now this is even double hard.
Anila, can I say something?
Yeah, wait, then I close the screen again. Yes.
I think maybe because of what Neta said also, I think maybe it's even more difficult when someone is hurting other people.
Yeah.
Not me. Like
yeah.
a very good friend, my child.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Oh, my child. But my child is also me. You see, when you have children, your ego expands. And your child is even more than me.
But if someone pushes them and they fall to the ground and they get hurt.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, you'll be, I don't know, you'll be affected more than if they just ran along and they, they stumbled and fell.
Of course. And it's okay to be affected. And it's okay to again, don't fall into that thing that being patient means you don't react. Where do you get this? When you have arguments like this, like Gidi just had, I hear that you are saying you shouldn't do anything. Are you saying that? Do you think that's patience, not reacting?
I should even love the person that has, hurt someone or.
I have an example.
Yeah. This is what the Bodhisattva is doing. But what does it mean, loving that person? Again, very good remark.
Yeah, also stopping them from...
Wait. Let's turn the whole thing around. Your child pushes the other child. Then what?
Then it's easier, I guess.
What that you love your child. Out of love, what would you do with your child? Say, oh, well done.
No. Yeah, of course. Stop him or her from doing it again.
So you see, this kind of love to the other child who pushes your child. Not because anger wants to hurt. Anger wants to hurt the other child. This is what anger doesn't want the other child to be happy. Love would want to protect the other child from doing it again and again and again, and would even use very strong words so that it might stop the other kid. But not even the Buddha can stop people from doing stupid things. Not even the Dalai Lama can stop people from doing stupid things. So who are we? It's all about us, that we have this kind of love for the one who harms, so that he's protected, that we think, we use our intelligence. What can I do to make this person stop? Not out of anger, not out of hate. Hagar, did you want to say something? Because I saw that you were very happy about Gidi's remark. Good reaction. Perfect reaction.
Yes. So I was wondering exactly about that, about the kind of patience towards people who harm any kind of beings. They can harm any beings. They can harm themselves.
Yeah.
And I understand that patience and reaction is different.
Yeah.
And yet, from my personal experience, I feel like the majority of the people around me are people who harm beings, just like killing and just like eating meat. I view those things as harming because that's what they are as facts. I'm sorry. And I feel like the majority of the people that surround me are people that are harming. Now I have the patience, I have the conversation, but I'm really confused about whether where do I bring the Mahakala energy, because I find it extremely important. And I'm an activist. I absolutely talk to my friends about it. I absolutely encourage them. I will never stop talking and react because that's important. But I also feel like
fine. It's fine to say what you think, and maybe you can change somebody's behavior. But I think one problem there is that because compared to others, when we see them, as you say, eating meat, not caring about nature, throwing everything out, when we look at them, we feel too good. we feel too much, I am not harming, because I'm not harming as much as they do. We are also harming. Just by existing, we are harming. You see, that this is where also the kind of maybe the anger comes from, because some people say, oh, I don't eat meat and I don't do this and I don't do that. And maybe it's difficult for them not to eat meat. Maybe for you, it's easy not to eat meat. For me, it's difficult not to eat meat, but because I like it. But I don't eat meat because of the animals and this and that. So, but I'm still aware that I'm also harming just by existing, by consuming, the clothes, the shoes, where everything comes from who knows where, this and that. Of course, I have very little, but still, even that, it's also other people have to pay the price for it. So if we put ourselves too high up, then we feel very, this righteous anger. Okay, but by all means, being an activist is fine. It's okay. But try to see, Hagar, really try to see whether you don't feel better than they are.
In what way?
Well, that you're not harming.
No, I know I am harming in the I try to go into the minimum as much as I can. I guess the question is how to how to I don't know.
How to react, whether in a wrathful way or in a peaceful way.
Maybe I can try, Hagar. I tell me if this is what you mean, because you said, Anila, if there's a kid who is harming my kid, then I have to be loving and compassionate and trying to stop that person from doing harm.
No, Didi, wait a minute. I really don't like to say the way you say, I have to be loving and compassionate. No, you don't have to be like this, loving and compassionate. You have to be understanding and knowing what will help at the moment. You see, the way you present loving and compassionate, it feels like being weak when you say it like this. And that's not what love and compassion is.
So being fierce.
Somewhere you're making a mistake there.
Yeah. So when people are harming, and I agree with Hagar, and she's an activist. I'm not even an activist, but they still do it, and beings are being murdered every day, like millions of them. And so what we're doing is not enough. It's not for me. I'm feeling good. I'm not feeling good. Actually, beings are killed, and.
Okay. I became a Buddhist because I was inspired by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. I started to train these things. I started to not hurt people anymore whenever I felt like it. I started to work with my anger and this and that. I'm sure I'm not the only one. Do you think the way that the Dalai Lama is helpful? By just being the way he is and inspiring people to practice?
Yes. Yes.
That would be a good way.
I agree. I practice that a lot.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm not saying that's the only thing. So if you see, we all have different talents and we all have different qualities. So if you can, Hagar, when you're asking, shall I come as Mahakala or shall I come as Chenresik? It's the same person, by the way. Yeah, Mahakala is the wrathful emanation of Chenresik. If you look at, it doesn't hang here anymore because we took him for the newness. But if you look at Chenresik, he has 11 heads, and the 10th head is very wrathful, out of love and compassion. Because peaceful does not work anymore. And as you know, when you look at Buddhism, you can do activities with different attitude: peaceful, increasing, controlling, and wrathful. But in order for you not to create negative karma, you have to see, when we practice bodhicitta, then it goes like you train to see all beings as having been your kind mother. when you develop bodhicitta, this is the attitude, because you want to repay their kindness. Once you have developed bodhicitta, you turn it around and you see all beings as your children. This is why I was turning it around. What about when your kid pushes the other kid? Then you try to stop that child, which is your child, but with a lot of love and compassion. But it's difficult, you know, there we start to, when we want to fix the world, then we start to see that what the Buddha says, you can't fix the world, you have to fix your mind. But in the meantime, whatever we can do so people do not create that much damage and that much havoc, then we should. Whatever is skillful, Hadar, you know, is if you find this has an effect, when I go as Mahakala, by all means, go as Mahakala. When you find being peaceful has an effect, then I would choose the peaceful way. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's so, I do totally agree with you. It is so difficult to find the balance between indifference and looking away, not wanting to see what's being done in the world just for profit, you know, and not getting angry or upset or depressed or stressed or whatever. It's so difficult. And basically what we kind of remain with is working with our own mind to act, yes, but as much as possible, not with an angry mind. To use the anger as a first push, because anger is not, you know, anger shows us that something is wrong. But when we act with anger, as we know from karma, then the boomerang is coming back at one point. But it's difficult. It's really difficult. This is why the 6th chapter is the most difficult one. Patience is the most, it starts like this. Patience is the most difficult austerity. That's how Shantideva starts with, of the 6 perfections. Because anger is very strong energy. That's also what it is. Anybody else would want to comment on that still?
Thank you for your words.
But you know, again, patience doesn't mean you approve what they're doing. That doesn't mean that, or you look away. But what His Holiness is always saying, you separate the person from the action. And this helped me a lot. And this is from Venerable Rubina who said it. Because we were talking about Bush at that point still, you know, going, wow. So that's what she said, you know, if you see what he's doing and you very clearly state, this is not right. And then you go, I will never do that. That's really helpful, because then your ego doesn't have to fight with your compassion by saying, but look, it's wrong what he's doing, this and this. You already know what he's doing. The action is wrong. Yeah. Then somehow it does something to our mind. And then when we see, and we very clearly state, wow, I will never do that. And then sometimes I see, well, I'm not doing this like a prime minister, you know, but I'm still doing things that I could do much better, much more patient, much more helpful, much more cooperative with people that I dislike and all these kinds of things. So it's good to see these things. So try that, you know, so that we really see that the action, no go, but the person still deserves to be happy. And they will not find happiness. You know, when you say, Gidi said, well, they feel happy when they murder and this and that. How do we know? How do you really know? I mean, they're so confused. And imagine the karma that they are creating. They're going to end up as victims if we trust the Buddha Dharma. Of course, if you don't trust the Buddha Dharma, then I don't know. Yeah. They might find a lot of happiness in their what they're doing. But we don't know how they feel when they're alone, or how they are in their family, whether it's harmonious, whether they have a happy life. We don't know. We only see them when they do their wrongful acts, and then maybe they cheer And there's far too many people of this. Yeah. And then we have to be careful that we're not happy when they suffer. Yeah. But you definitely don't have to rejoice with them when they're happy about. Okay, Hadar, I see your message here. Is that okay? Or do you still want to say something? Yeah, it's good. Okay. It's difficult. I do admit it's difficult. And by all means, whatever you can do to convince somebody else not to destroy nature, by all means do. And if you have found a method that they listen to you, then tell me. Because, you know, when I became a vegetarian, people got so fed up with me. They didn't even want to talk to me anymore. Yeah, they didn't want to talk to me anymore. Now, then I took an example from the Karmapa that was before that one, who said, you know what? I prefer a peaceful meat eater than an aggressive vegetarian. I was far too aggressive with these people. You know, they didn't want to listen to me. And also they were not enough afraid of me when I came as Mahakala or whatever. When I started to threaten them with karma and all these kinds of things. Then on top of it, they ate even more meat and said, we're not afraid of karma. So it's like, but what really worked was when I said, okay, you know, this is your karma, I don't care. Then it started to, then that made them think, you know, when they didn't think that they had to stop doing what they were doing because of me, but because of them. And it's coming more and more. I mean, more and more people become vegetarian, but it's still not enough, I know, but still. Be a good example and be peaceful. So I think like this. Shall we look at one more verse, and that will be your homework, and then we can stop on time, which is wonderful, because we did the Tara mantras. Now this one, therefore, just like a treasure appearing in my house, without any effort on my behalf to obtain it, because I didn't make any effort, that enemy just appeared. Yeah, I should be happy to have an enemy, for he assists me in my conduct of awakening. He helps me to become like the Dalai Lama. So, yeah, this is very, very high thinking, isn't it? So, like, we should be happy, like a treasure. You know, you would be very happy. You don't know there is a treasure. You're not looking for one. You stumble over a treasure. I mean, these enemies, they come free house. But so again, you know, don't take the biggest ones. Take the small ones, the ones who are making noise and are not considerate about you, of which there are many in Israel. You know, on one hand, I am really happy that first I spent 20 years, I am really happy that I spent 20 years in India first, because in India, I practiced the patience of not being able to change things. Loud music, hot weather, no air conditioning, food that makes you sick, buses who are totally full, dirt everywhere, plastic everywhere, like this, okay? That's kind of the patience with difficult situations, conditions. So this I practiced for 17 years in India. Then I came to Israel, and I was shocked at how inconsiderate some people are, not everybody. Some I found extremely kind and extremely nice, especially the people who came to the talks. Yeah, there I was very surprised, because I had put all Israelis in one pot. I had put that all the Israelis are like all the ones who come to Dharamsala with their Enfield, and, you know, in big hordes, and totally inconsiderate about this and that. And so I thought I had prepared myself a bit for those. And then I was very surprised when I found that, oh, not all the Israelis are like that, which made me very happy. But sometimes also, not so many actually, but sometimes I saw examples also of arrogance, inconsideration for others, like not caring, not wanting to listen, and all this. And I was kind of shocked. But then I found out that they are hitting my own arrogance in being humble, considerate, the whole thing. And when I saw it, that this is what makes me upset, then they're not able to make me upset anymore. I still don't approve of what they're doing, but you know, I'm not getting angry anymore. But it took a while. It took a while. That why I got so upset is because I was arrogant about my being not using many things and being humble and being very considerate about nature. You see, this whole thing about being considerate about nature, we learned that when we were children. This is in our genes. This is whenever we went hiking to the mountains, all the trash we took back with us. We never left anything behind. So there's nothing to be proud about. I just learned it. If it wouldn't have been for my parents, I might not have learned it. Yeah, so one can learn. Okay, so now, my dears, when you find something that you find really good, and you have this feeling of, oh, like a treasure, I found a treasure, connect with that feeling. And then just start to maybe put the idea in your head, just very gently. With the training, I could feel like this when I meet a difficult person. Just to, you know, to approach it very, very gently. But to connect with the feeling when you find something that makes you joyful. To really experience that feeling when you're happy about finding something. At the moment, it's only when we find something good, you know, when the things go the way we want them to go or whatever. Connect with that feeling and then thinking, with this training of Mahayana Buddhism, whomever I meet, no matter what they do, I will have this feeling of closeness and wanting them to be happy. And not the feeling of a real mother who feels very unhappy, or father, when their children are doing something harmful. The Buddhas don't have that, because what we have is not real compassion, because then we feel sad and upset and all this. The Buddhas have real compassion because they see suffering has causes, therefore it can be stopped. Our view is very short. Yeah, we only see what's happening immediately. Okay, Sigal, I let you go to sleep. You might have lack of oxygen when it makes us yawn. So breathe in very deeply. So it's very good. It's a sign that we lack oxygen when we start to yawn, and also that it's time to stop. So thank you for that. You know, don't feel embarrassed. I'm sorry, because the others might not have seen you. Because it's fine. This is the good thing about Israel, you know. I would never dare to expose somebody in Switzerland like this. Never, ever. They would not come to the next class. They would feel hurt and, you know, insulted and this and that. So I know with Israelis I can do that, isn't it? So that's the good thing about you guys. You are very sturdy. So that's okay. You're a very interesting mix. Yesterday, I talked about the Jewish lady who is very active here in the synagogue, because we have this multi-religious meeting sometimes. So we talked about Israel, and she's Swiss, you know, and she was only there once. And she also said, gosh, I was shocked, you know, like the taxi driver totally ripped her off. She was there with her 3 kids. She tried to get into the bus with her 3 little kids. She couldn't because everybody was pushing her aside and this and that. But she also said, she says, there is something in this country. It seems like there's so many things that are controversial, but it's so alive. We both of us, we agreed on this. It is so alive, much more than Switzerland. You live in a very, very special country. So
when are you coming?
Well, the earliest end of August, which is soon, you know, because I still have things to do until then. But it looks as if Israel is opening for tourists, because at the moment it's still closed. As a foreigner, I cannot, they don't let me in. But it said somewhere in a newspaper that they will open in July or something. So we'll see. We'll have to see how it develops. The moment it's okay to come, I mean, if it opens in July, I cannot come in July because I still have commitments here in Europe. But then I come and then, you know, I can stay. I mean, not forever, but for at least 3 months, like always. Israel is great training ground. Yeah, it's true. This is what I'm saying. But it can be too big. For some people, it can be too big, you know, when they haven't trained with smaller things. So this is what I'm saying. I was very happy that I trained first in India, and then I came to Israel. But I didn't succeed at the beginning. I got very angry sometimes. So Okay. So anyway, thank you very much. So are you clear on the homework? That when you find something that you find valuable, like a nice person, you know, you're looking forward like this, you connect to the feeling that it brings up. When you find something of value, like a treasure, a good situation, a good person, a good meal, interesting conversation, whatever, connect, experience that feeling, how you feel when you feel that you found something valuable. And then to think through this training, it will take a long time, but it doesn't matter. Through this training, whatever I see, touch, feel, think, experience will produce that feeling of joy. Is it clear? Equanimity. Whatever I find, I will find the good thing in that thing, because there's nothing that is just good in samsara. There's nothing that is just bad. It just depends on our motivation, on our attitude. Yeah. So like a treasure found at home, enriching me without fatigue. You know, the difficult people, especially in Israel, you don't have to go and look for them. You find them without any effort, isn't it? As you say, this is not an insult. It's just a fact. Yeah. All enemies are helpers in my Bodhisattva work. If I want enlightenment, because patience is one of the 6 perfections, and the Skiddy says, I'm afraid, yes, that one also goes with it, not just the other ones, you know. So all enemies are helpers in my Bodhisattva work, and therefore they should be a joy to me. Now, maybe if you're a very good surfer, how many of you surf? Okay, but you've seen people surfing, you know, it's kite surfing. They are so happy when the wind is strong and when the waves are big. For us, we would be frightened. Oh, I'm not going out. But for them, it's joy. So it's not the wave, it's not the wind, it's not the behavior of the person, it's my attitude towards it. And then we continue with this, because then the ego starts, the ego starts to argue, but it's not their attitude to help me to become a Buddha. And then we see what Shantideva says. Yeah. So first is, you know, how do I feel when I have decided that this is a good thing? And where is the decision? Whether this is good or not, it's not coming from outside, whether it's good or not. It's in my, what am I looking for? Is it clear now? Yeah? And I wish you a very good week. And again, I went 10 minutes over. I wanted to finish on time. I seem not to have to, you don't have to karma to when you are with me that we finish on time. I'm not even sorry about it. Anyway, so let's dedicate all the positive energy that we have created by discussing these very difficult things. You know, this is the core practice of Buddhism, is like to work with our negative emotions when it's difficult to work with them, not just when it's easy. So may we all be able to recognize what brings happiness and what brings suffering, and then end our own suffering so we can inspire other people also not to be under the control of their negative emotions anymore. May we all have happiness and the causes of happiness. May we all be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May we all be able to live our potential of compassion and wisdom. Don't never forget the wisdom. And may we be liberated from samsara very, very quickly so we can lead others out of that state.
Amen.
Amen. Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Thank you. Take care
Thank
and have a
you.
very good week. And thank you for listening. It's so
So
you're
good to
kind.
see you.
Yeah, okay. It's so good to see you too, you know. Okay.
Thank you, Anila.
Thank
Okay.
you, Ella.
You're very welcome. Bye.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Good
And may
night.
there be a new government in your country.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes, yes, yes.
We need.
Don't give up hope.
We
Okay.
have 2 hours for that.